When it comes to your career development, of course, it's crucial to have a clear understanding of where you are now, what are your goals and aspirations, and to put them in place and then try and achieve them. But I know what you're saying, much easier said than done. So what are the major aspects that are going to impact your career? Let's try and unpack that. I'm joined by author Chris van Melle Kamp, making time this afternoon. Chris, good to have you on eNCA. I appreciate it. It seems like a very broad question, and I want to break it up into two parts, if you don't mind. One is those who are going to be entering the career of their choice, hopefully, and those who are in a career at the moment and want to make the change. Let's start with those maybe coming out of university and they're asking these big life questions. What do I want to do as a living? What do you tell them? Hello.
Hi, Gareth. Thank you very much for your introduction, and it's good to speaking to your listeners. I'd like to start with a step before that, in fact, because the book that I've written really focuses on a journey that we go through, and the journey really starts when we're very young and when we're being influenced by the environment and people that we grow up with, and in that phase of our journey, we are impacted on significantly, and I think in many ways more significantly than we actually realize. And the book that I wrote really starts off with the influence of those early origins and how they shape our values, how they shape our view of our lives, and how they shape the way that we see the world. And from there onwards, we go through a program of development, which obviously starts at school, goes through to university, and then throughout life. The phase that you're talking about, that post-university phase, going into the first parts of the working life, it's an important part of our learning curve, but it's also, in many ways, just the first starts of a building block of experience, knowledge, skills, and insights. And unfortunately, many people go to university with the idea of doing something that's going to be meaningful, something that's going to be really driving some sense of purpose in their lives, and something that is going to allow them to develop a career or profession.
And without making it sound like it's overly complicated, you break it up very nicely in your book. By the way, Future Purpose. It's a unique and personal guide to building your C-suite career. But you break it down into this 5-dimensional framework that I see you talk about as well.
Yes.
Just very briefly, give me those 5 frameworks. And of those, is there one that's the most important, or can't you pick one?
Yeah, so I think the 5 dimensions, really, I've touched on the first one, which is our origins. The second one is the development and the development phases that we go through, and the experiences that we pick up throughout our lives, which determine at the end of the day what kind of work we can be doing. And then we move into a whole conversation around context. Which are the best areas to work in? Which are the best companies to work in? Where do we fit in well? What kind of cultures really work for us? What kind of work is suited to our style, our mindset, our personality? And the fourth phase is really the stage of life that we're in. As we go through life, we experience different kinds of inputs and outputs, and we experience different needs. And as we go through these various phases in our lives, we do experience the drive and the necessity to take on maybe different challenges or look at the world through a different lens. And then the fifth phase is really purpose. The fifth dimension of this book is a critical component, and currently there's a lot of talk around purpose and meaningfulness in work, but it is an ongoing theme in everybody's careers. I think not just towards the end of your career. I think it's something that really plays out in ways that we're all looking for some level of meaningfulness in the work that we do.
How do you speak to someone who obviously wants to go through all of these stages that you're speaking about, Chris, and they want to build a career and they want to go through those stages, they want to grow, But I suppose it's not just the pessimist in me coming out, but if I was to look at a typical South African at the moment with the cost of living and the negativity around it, some people might just feel that, yes, that's a wonderful ideal to have. Others are just trying to get through a job. They're trying to get a paycheck, and they're trying to keep the wolf from the door. How do you tell them? How do you convince them? What do you try and tell them to get them back from just having a job, to get a paycheck, to go back and building a career with purpose? It can be a difficult thing to do.
I think so. I think you're right. I think it is very difficult. But what I've tried to provide in this book is a sort of a toolkit, if you like, to address those issues. For instance, if you are stuck in a role that you really don't like very much, but you feel that the risk of leaving the organization or leaving that role is just too high, there are ways of dissecting your potential other options and a potential move in a very constructive and very deliberate way. I think very often we get so caught up in the moment that we forget that we all have individual qualities. We all have very strong capabilities. We've all got potential. We can all do something different and meaningful if we really apply our minds. And this framework that I've created is really, that's the toolkit. If you can look at each one of the pieces of this framework and apply it to your own current position, or in looking at a future potential or future possibility, it does give you a decision-making framework to address those issues. But I acknowledge that many people are really not in a position to just suddenly make a move or do things differently. They are restricted to a large degree by circumstances and very often by financial demands.
So it's the hamster wheel of life, some people call it as well, Chris, isn't it? Sometimes the hamster wheel of life can catch up on you. Very, very briefly, I want to make sure that everyone can go and find your book. I see it's available on all the Amazons. There's a paperback version, there's a Kindle version, which obviously I'm going to get as well. Where is it available? Where can people go find it, Chris, as I say goodbye?
Yeah, well, you can order it through publishers.co.za. You can get it in all the major bookstores in South Africa, and as you said, on Amazon and on Kindle. So it is available everywhere.
And sometimes all you need to do is just take a step back and, as you say, realize that we've all got those unique skills. It's not to do anything knee-jerk reaction, but just take a step back and realize actually how much value you have if you just think about what you're able to offer. Author Chris van Melle Kamp, a wonderful read. Here it is again. Go look for it on all those platforms. I'm seeing it here on Amazon at the moment. It's a Future Purpose, a unique and personal guide to building your C-suite career.